So the above, or all these lines of argument, might be able to form the basis for some of our essay paragraphs. But how would we go about structuring the essay and each paragraph? So what I normally recommend for an essay structure for the John Locke Essay Competition, especially for the psychology category, is the following. You start with your introduction, where you define your terms, you introduce your argument, and you indicate how you will argue your case. So in this case, it's really important that you define your terms because it is such a sort of intricate or complex question in terms of the definitions. So you'd want to define psychiatric illness in your introduction. You'd want to define character flaw, and that would be really important to do. You'd want to introduce your argument. So you'd maybe want to say, I will argue that it is impossible to distinguish between a character flaw and a psychiatric illness for the following reasons. And then you would indicate how you will argue your case. So you will set out a roadmap of each of your points. And then you'll have maybe 4 to 6 main paragraphs, and you can include subheadings with these. So your main paragraphs will all draw on a different theme or point of your argument. Some of them might be quite linked together. And I think it's important to highlight this third point here. It's great if you can link your paragraphs together to get that sort of logical structure and logical flow. And then in your final paragraph or your conclusion, you'll want to make sure you come back to those implications. So why does this question matter? And what does it mean in the real world and more broadly? Something else you'll want to cover, either in your conclusion or in your later paragraphs, is what further research does the psychological research community need to conduct or do in order to really answer this question fully? So maybe there's not enough research on defining character flaws, or maybe we need more research on ADHD and whether symptoms of ADHD are character flaws or actually they are signs of psychiatric illnesses. And then finally, in your conclusion, you want to state what your final point is, and you want to return to that final argument to really bring home that persuasive style that the examiner will want to see in your essay. So now let's zoom in deeper. So an individual paragraph should be made up of the following things in terms of structure. If you want to use subheadings, which are optional, make sure it is clear and concise, so just a few words long, nothing very long at all. Start with a clear introduction sentence in each individual paragraph, that makes your point clearly. Make sure you have a strong use of evidence that is well explained and, don't know why it's happening, a strong use of evidence that is well explained and originally applied in each paragraph. So this means drawing on the relevant scientific literature to make your point. Make sure you make links between each different piece of evidence and evaluations of each piece. And make sure that your points clearly link the evidence and research back to the main theme of the paragraph, and more importantly, back to the whole research question. So make sure that each piece of evidence you pick and explain actually links back to the question. So each paragraph, make sure you think, am I answering the question, i.e. what is the difference between a character flaw and a psychiatric illness? And is the evidence I am explaining and talking about really helping me to do so? You need to make sure that you have correctly formatted citations throughout your essay, and we'll go into that a bit more later as well. And you need to make sure that the length of the paragraphs are not too long or too short. I would say within the range of 200 to 500 words, depending on how many paragraphs you have. But just remember that the John Locke Essay Competition word count is 2,000 words, excluding bibliography or any diagrams you choose to include. So that's why I suggest 4 to 6 paragraphs, maybe less. And I would suggest shorter conclusions and shorter introductions so that you can get more evidence into your paragraph's main bodies.